historic, groundbreaking. I think it is nearly impossible to overstate it, which I do like to exaggerate from time to time. But in this instance, the impact of Title IX, we see it not just in the growth of women's sports. And I was actually back at my alma mater this weekend talking with student athletes on the women's basketball team competing today. And many of them said to me they really didn't appreciate the impact of Title IX until they heard all of us alums who were back talking about the opportunities that we didn't take for granted. And now I think we've graduated to a point where they don't take it for granted in any sort of entitled way. They just know from the time they're born that women have opportunity in sport, which means we are moving exactly in the right direction. I think Title IX gives us a safeguard. There's no going back. And we know it's federal law, and we needed that law, I think, to motivate some who perhaps were a bit reluctant to provide these opportunities. And now what we're seeing is, with that backdrop, anytime an institution starts to not provide that equity that we've come to not just expect but demand when needed, we can go back to this federal law as the strong backbone to ensure that these opportunities persist. Pretty much every aspect of my life, I think, has been touched by Title IX. Growing up in a small town where basketball was king, not queen, although I think we're moving to that, I remember noting that it wasn't fair that our girls' basketball team practiced in the old gym, yet we played in the new gym. And I'll never forget, my dad went to the school board, on which my mom was the president of the school board. It's a bit awkward, and made the case for equity, both from a practice opportunity standpoint, a locker room equity standpoint, and then I think even a coaching personnel standpoint, because we had just as many as the boys without the FTE allocation. So that to me taught me, hey, we've got a responsibility to advocate, regardless in what position we're in. And then now professionally, I've got the opportunity of working in college sports. And I think we've seen that with this past year with the Kaplan Review. All of us are taking a hard look in the mirror and saying, are we as equitable as we need to be? And if there's a gap, how do we address it? I think I have continued to, Title IX is so much about sport, and that's generally what people go to. That sport, though, is based on the premise of education. And so having the ability to get my college degree while playing college sport, it was like I was in this incredible learning lab of leadership. And knowing that that opportunity existed, and then I was able to learn to lead on the court, has really just helped me personally in life. Female mentors, how much time do I have? It started with my mom. Because she stepped up and was in a leadership role in our small town governance, if you will, when women weren't on the school board and certainly weren't president. And then my coach in college, my first female coach, and she showed me what a strong role model and advocate is. And then when I had the privilege of being an intern at the NCAA, from Cynthia Gable in enforcement to Carrie Doyle, who's now at NC State, they were women that saw something in me as a professional that I didn't see. And they encouraged me to go for opportunities when those doors opened. And then continuing on here in the Horizon League, Alfreda Goff is an icon. And then in my gap period between the NCAA and the Horizon League, Diane Murphy, who's also been an incredible just proponent, champion of Title IX, AD, coach, and continues to serve on the We Coach board to keep women in head coach positions. Being a commissioner is fantastic, challenging. When I was named commissioner, I think I was the 10th of 32. And I would say 5 years ago, there were probably less than 5. So I credit all the women that have come before me, because when I walked in the room, and we're nearly a third of the 32 commissioners, it's not like there's a female clique over in the corner. We're just moving and shaking with the rest of the leaders in the room. So from that perspective, I'm grateful that A, I'm among some terrific women, but B, we're not quite the exception as in some settings that I've experienced. I think it's important for the leaders in college athletics to reflect the very student athletes, frankly, for whom we work. And so when you think about the fact that nearly half, and I know what the stat is, but it's got to be pretty close, probably are female student athletes, we need female leaders. I think that also speaks to ethnic minorities. And I know there are some serious efforts underway, and we still have significant ground to cover to frankly become more diverse and inclusive in the leadership ranks across the board, including gender. There's so much data out there that shows as girls participate in athletics at any level, it really helps them with their self-esteem, their confidence, their own leadership path. I see that. I love coaching rec sports. I do, and it's girls, and I love to see them grow their skill set, but more importantly, their confidence over the course of the season as they start to get comfortable in their body, but also as they start to get comfortable with their teammates, and then also they support one another. And to me, that's also the piece of women leadership, is empowering other women to help them on their path. The sky's the limit from a growth standpoint for women's sports. We saw it this year with the women's basketball championship with some record-setting numbers. The interest is there. Just today, we saw the professional women's soccer players are going to be paid on equal footing as the men. I think we are making significant strides, and it's a great game. I went to the WNBA Fever game the other night, terrific basketball, and I think that's, as people truly become fans of the sport and watching women athletes do their thing, the sky's the limit. What excites me the most? I love to watch it, so I'm a fan at heart. Yes, basketball I'm a little biased towards, but I love watching softball, soccer, track. I mean, watching these women student athletes just pursue their passion and being able, as we work in college sports, to just play a small part in making sure that opportunity is there, that's really inspiring. And to me, that is what's exciting. And knowing that just being in that opportunity is really going to set them on a course for their future where just that there is no limit.